Yeah, and then became Player of the Year shortly thereafter, right?
Yeah, same year. That's a pretty good run.
Yeah, seriously.
So that'd be like the online Champion of the Year and the Player of the Year in the...
Yeah. So, all right, looks like the guys are getting ready to get started here. So there's Reid on the right. He's both players playing TBD, which is a TBD mirror.
Yeah, and actually we know that Chris is playing Delver and Reid is playing Blue-Black Control.
Okay, so there you go. We get that up on the screen there. Jesse's working on it.
Chris is a legacy player. I haven't really seen him play any standard, but whenever there's an open in Virginia, Maryland, this neck of the woods, we usually see him. And he's top 8 at a couple opens, legacy opens, usually playing decks like Sneak Attack or Storm. He likes to play combo decks. It's the first time I've seen him play standard. And here he is with a turn 2 Delver Secrets.
Yeah, so this is just looks like a classic kind of blue-white Delver. Nothing too fancy. Looks, yeah, pretty standard to me. Pretty stock list. Reid has the Ratchet Bomb there, and remembering to pay for his pact. Oh, and it's a different format. Reminder, I think, just to tick up the Ratchet Bomb, I guess, is that?
You know,
there it is.
Chris had an instant that he could have revealed, but he chose not to because the Ratchet Bomb was on 0, and he wanted to get in for that 1 point.
Right, yeah. And he forces Reid to use it now, too.
So it's 3 point of damage for him. Well played.
Oh, so Reid has Liliana, follows up the activated Ratchet Bomb, takes out the Delver with that, and then Liliana takes out Geist of St. Traft. I mean, that's about as good as it gets for Reid as far as answering Chris's threats. Oh, a second Geist of St. Traft from Chris.
We're going to see whether or not Reid wants to take up that Liliana. He may just, let Chris swing into it, but, if you don't take it up here, you risk Chris just starting to ignore it. So,
yeah,
it's a little dangerous.
I did a deck tech earlier with Reid, but it was for his legacy deck, so you guys can look forward to checking that out later on in the coverage.
So now, by Reid taking that up and then passing the turn, we can probably assume that Reid has a spot removal spell, and his plan is to kill the Angel if Chris aims that at the Liliana, but Chris is probably just going to aim the Geist there and the Angel at his face.
Yeah, I mean, that makes the most sense to me. Yeah,
So Reid must have a lot of land in his hand, just wanted to get rid of that swamp. Got a mana leak out of it.
Yeah. Think twice from Reid. And he thinks twice.
Twice.
Yeah. So Reid drawing a lot of cards, doing pretty well, keeping the board roughly, fairly clear. It's Geist is going to be a little tough, but he can. He's got some ways to dig into his deck.
Yeah. Now Chris has open mana too, which makes things difficult because, Reid is going to be dealing with this Geist, but he also has to deal with more land haunt tokens.
All right, so he goes a curse into a mana leak.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling Reid expected that. Maybe thought, well, I got rid of one mana leak. It's pretty likely he has another. I think that.
Yeah, if he discards one, I mean, it's going to be unlikely that he's leaving himself with a hand that has no counter matching against blue-black control when they're about to be on 5 mana.
Yeah. So Reid takes a big hit down to 8 from Angel, Geist of St. Traft, and a Spirit token.
Reid's going to need a big play this turn.
Land go. So Chris
threatening lethal now if he makes another token.
And he does.
Chooses to do so.
This is the ghost of the Geist of St. Traft coming down there. The spirit of the Geist. And in they come. What does Reid have? We haven't seen a good look at his hand.
I mean, that could just be it.
Yeah.
He's at least going to think twice and look for something if he doesn't have anything. But
Well, he's got a Doom Blade, which looks like I would assume is hitting the Angel. Or,
at this point, you really just have to hit the Angel because you're really just hoping to resolve Black Sun Zenith the next turn. So just putting yourself at 4 instead of 0.
Yeah, I mean, if he hit the one of the spirits, he'd be at 1, right? Because he would have taken 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
And being at 1 is a really precarious place to be against
Right.
the deck that
sometimes
may
runs
even be
gut
playing
shot.
Gut shot.
Yeah. Although
It definitely is Vapor Snacks.
Right. And we have a Forbidden Alchemy from Reid.
Who fails to find a Black Sun Zenith.
Does he have a land? Okay, he can Snapcaster Doomblade, but that's not gonna. He's gonna need more than that. Yeah. Well, he's at 4, so he's gonna. No, he's got a Snapcaster.
He Snapcasters to block the Geist,
Right.
and then he can Doomblade the Angel.
Okay, right. Sorry,
Yeah.
I forgot about the fact that Snapcaster exists. I'm like, yeah, Doomblade. Oh,
And that's it.
that's it. Yeah. So, 3 mana leaks from Chris Cornwell-Shield make it really difficult for Reid to take game 1. Is his last name Cornwell-Shield or Shield? I don't think there's a D on the end.
I think it's Cornwell-Shield.
Yeah. Just yeah, it's just no D on the end on his deck list. Just want to make sure that we've got the guy's name spelled right. Yeah, that was looking okay for Reid until we saw the second Geist of St. Traft, and then having that many mana leaks against the blue-black deck. I think that's pretty much what did Reid in game 1.
It's kind of an interesting battle as far as personalities go. Chris is, very
Eccentric.
Yeah, he's a fun guy. He gets like really excited when he plays. When he's winning, he plays really, really well. You watch him play, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. When the second something starts to go wrong, he starts to, like he can go on tilt.
Yeah.
He's, and I mean, he's just like somebody who's like emotional with their style of gameplay.
That's
Whereas
interesting,
Reid
yeah.
is somebody who is so
He's stoic.
level-headed.
Yeah, he's very stoic.
He is just the Iceman. He's so good at Magic.
I mean,
He's
going
one of those
undefeated-
people who blows my mind.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine going undefeated in a Grand Prix.
I mean, how many rounds was that?
Well, he had 3 buys, so
Well, he went undefeated for those.
Then 6, 12, 15. So it was a 15-0.
That's ridiculous.
18-0 if you count the buys.
Well, they have. Let's check out the sideboards. So we've got 3 purges for Chris, very likely coming in to take care of any resolved curses, or Lilianas that may be causing trouble. So he's got 3
even,
purges.
Bloodline Keeper. I don't know if it doesn't look like there are Bloodline Keepers in Reid's deck, but
Grave Titan's pretty reasonable to get rid of too. But yeah, purges have plenty of targets, so the purges will come in. He's got a Jace Memory Adept, probably for exactly this matchup. He's got 2 Dissipate and a Negate. I mean, he could use all of those.
he's got to be careful about siding out too much, though.
Right. I agree. I think I'd prioritize Purge then Jace. All 4 of those, but
I mean, the really nice thing about Jace in the Delver deck is it's hard to cast because hitting your land drops up to that point, it can be tough. But if you do hit your land drops, your deck applies a lot of pressure in the early turns of the game, and it really forces your opponent to tap out on that key turn. So like on turn 5, Reid's going to go for a Curse. On turn 4, Reid's going to go for a Black Sun Zenith. And that gives Chris the opportunity to resolve a Jace.
Yeah.
And when he does that, it's really hard for Reid. It's not Jace the Mind Sculptor, but
it does a fair impersonation.
it might be better against blue-black control if you just start pointing at them when they die.
Yeah, I think I've seen several players now. Chris isn't doing this, but I've seen at least two people having the Moorland Haunt in the board, like an extra Moorland Haunt in the board, for exactly that kind of thing, where you wanna be playing against the control decks. You want to hit all your land drops. You want to play Jace. So,
And Chris's 21 lands, the norm when you're playing these blue-white Delver decks.
right. So going up to 22 against the
22
control
is
deck
nice, especially when you're trying to bring in Jaces.
Right.
Well, most of the people who have extra lands in their sideboard also have like 2 Jace, sometimes even 3.
Yeah. So let's look at Reid's sideboard. He's got a Jace of his own, but he's got an additional Black Sun Zenith, additional Ratchet Bomb. He's got a Tragic Slip, which I assume he'll bring in, a Doomblade, another Curse. He's got a Phantasmal Image. I don't know if he needs that necessarily. That's probably more for Thrun. Yeah, so I think he probably just brings in the maybe a little more removal and mass removal. Anything jumps out at you besides that? Meantime, Reid
I don't
is.
think so. I think he just brings in like the Doomblade, the Tragic Slip, and the Zenith,
Reid
and like
is
the bomb.
resolving a Gitaxian Probe. Saw Snapcaster, a couple of lands. Didn't quite get a chance to to read it out for you. Well, we have a Probe back, so we'll get to see Reid's hand here. Zenith, Curse, Liliana, land. I think it's Swamp, or Swamp, blue-black land. Can't tell. It
That's
is
a lot
a drowned
of stuff
catacomb.
to value
So,
right through. Sign Liliana. That's nice.
Whew. That's a lot of mass removal. So,
Oh, yeah.
Right now, though, the only problem I see is that Reid, he needs the land to make it even worth or able to cast it. He can cast Liliana, and he can cast a Zenith for 1 at this point. I mean,
Forbidden Alchemy off the top would be really good for Reid, and his deck is playing enough land where it
I think he
shouldn't
drew
be
Ratchet
too much
Bomb,
of an issue.
and that's what it is. So he got a Ratchet Bomb off the top. So Chris resolves turn 1 Probe and then Ponder. So setting himself up pretty nicely. Turn 2 Island. Pass. So assuming that Reid is going to try to resolve Liliana here, Chris passes the turn, representing Mana Leak, or Negate. And Reid's going to go ahead and cast Liliana. Call the bluff, or at least make him have it, I mean.
The other thing is that with a curse in your hand, you kind of want your opponent to counter Liliana.
Yeah. And Reid goes ahead and pluses Liliana, discarding a Black Sun Zenith, and Chris discards Vapor Snag.
Interesting, the Vapor Snags are still in Chris's deck.
Yeah,
he
that
doesn't
is
really have
interesting.
much to bring in, so he has to cut Dismember, and yeah.
All right, we have a Snapcaster on the stack, and he's going to flash back a Ponder. It's going to make Reid work to keep that Liliana on the table.
And Reid may just trade his Ratchet Bomb for the Snapcaster.
Yeah, and keep plussing Liliana.
Yeah, there's not a good way for Chris's deck to interact with it if he's not attacking.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a Moorland Haunt.
And he apparently didn't have the Mana Leak to keep it from coming down in the first place.
Then again, Reid could always just minus Liliana. And
Right, and kill the Snapcaster that way.
Yeah.
Save the Ratchet Bomb. Reid's got a couple of options here. Now, I mean, is he facing very little pressure? Snapcaster Mage, not too scary. So Reid ticks it up to 2, ticks the Ratchet Bomb up to 2. Do you just keep trying to, no, okay. I was going to say, do you try to ultimate Liliana here? But, yeah, I mean, I think Liliana's primary role is as a control card, not a, hey, I'm going to ultimate, and make you lose basically half your board.
Liliana's an interesting card. A lot of people thought that it, wasn't as powerful as they had initially thought, but there are some people whose playstyles really lend themselves to using that card well. feel like Gerard Fabiano with Liliana is much scarier than a normal person. Reid Duke is definitely somebody like that also.
I mean, didn't Reid play that Pox list with Liliana at the last Invitational?
Did pretty well with it too.
Yeah,
that was the coolest deck ever.
That was awesome.
Veteran Explorer?
Yeah. So it looks like Chris is attempting to resolve Geist of Saint Traft. And
Reid knew about this because of the Jaxian Probe. That's why he's been taking up this bomb this whole time.
Yeah, so here he's got options. Yeah, so Geist resolves. He's going to play Curse. So and he did not tick up the Ratchet Bomb, but he'll trade his Liliana for the Geist. And that Curse is bad news for Chris unless he has access to a Celestial Purge, which he may very well. Let's see. Oh, okay, he taps 1 for a Ponder. Looking for that Purge, presumably.
One would expect.
Yeah. I don't care. I'll just play Honor of the Pure. Where did that come from? So there's a Moorland Haunt and a second Geist of Saint Traft. Chris again with double Geist, 2 games in a row here. Reid ticks this one up, ticks up the Ratchet Bomb this time, and double Curse. Luckily, Maelstrom Pulse not in the format, so double Curse not such a problem. And, that takes care of the Geist.
I really like cards like Maelstrom Pulse. They encourage you to play differently.
Well, go play Modern then. God.
I remember seeing 1 figure of Destiny at a time and just putting as much mana into it as possible.
Yeah. Maelstrom Pulse. All right. Second figure.
It's another one. It's a 4/4. Your gen deck doesn't do anything.
So Chris is building up to Iona mana here. Actually, looks like he may be digging for Jace too. At this point, he's got 5 mana here. He thought Scours himself. Can't quite see what he lost. I mean, besides the Glacial Fortress, I don't know what the spell was. Passes the turn.
Now, even if Reid wins this game, he's still going to have to be on the draw for game 3.
Yeah. And, we have Sun Titan, land. Sun Titan's not something I expected Chris to bring in necessarily, but, I mean, it was something I considered, but didn't even say anything because I didn't think he'd bring it in. Maybe,
It's a pretty reasonable choice here. I mean, Reid taps out on those turns a lot, and it dodges a lot of the stuff that Reid is presumably going to bring in to beat you.
I think, I was prioritizing those Purges and the Jaces, and like you said, you don't want to side out everything. You don't want to side out a ton of stuff, so I kind of thought maybe the Sun Titan was just not as high a priority as the Jaces and the Purges. But, maybe he brought in still Purges, Jaces, and the Sun Titan. All right, so there's Liliana from Reid. Liliana number 2. When I watch Reid Duke play Liliana, it makes me want to play Liliana really bad. Last time at the Invitational, that was the last time I remember watching Reid play Liliana.
Liliana, pretty powerful card.
And
now, so Chris is in a really rough spot here. I mean, it's almost over. Reid has 2 curses in play.
Yeah, I mean,
Liliana on 3 counters.
Right. Reid just played that Liliana, and I don't think he didn't do anything with it. He didn't activate. He didn't +1 her.
And I can agree with that, depending on what's in Reid's hand.
Yeah, he's just got it sitting there. It's like a seal of edict there. He no longer has to fear Geist. Okay, so I see a Batter Skull, I think. Maybe I didn't. So he plays a land. I thought I saw a Batter Skull. All right. Pass back to Reid. Chris playing draw go at this point.
Yeah, and the draw go game certainly favors the blue-black deck.
Yeah. Land, go. So Reid at this point does not need to fear Geist, because it just immediately dies to curses. Does not need to fear the Sun Titan. Does not need to fear any swords that may have stayed in the deck. No Invisible Stalker, no Delver, no Snapcaster. Basically, I mean, Chris's creature suite is entirely dead, besides the Sun Titan, which is again dead to the Liliana. Sun Titan getting back any of those creatures doesn't matter.
Yeah, the creatures will just die as soon as they touch the battlefield. If he does Sun Titan, he's just going to have to return a Moorland, or just a land.
Yeah, Moorland Haunt does nothing. I mean, it removes creatures from your graveyard. That's about it.
Yeah, if your opponent's attempting to, get you a body double.
Or Havengul Lich. I need to gain the abilities of, the activated abilities of Delver. His hand is Negate, Sun Titan, Island, and something else I can't quite tell.
Sword of Form piece?
Could have been. It was the back card, or the bottom card.
Which Taxi Probe. That should tell us more vividly what.
Well, that's why we saw it, because of the Taxi Probe. But so there's the island, and Reid needs a way to. I mean, he's got the game locked down, but at the same time, eventually Chris is going to draw into those purges, and he's going to be able to fight a counter war with the negate. I mean, Chris can very well get back into this game if Reid can't capitalize on this window. I mean, it's a pretty wide open window, but Reid decides to plus one Liliana.
Is just so backbreaking.
I mean, I think Reid's got this, but yeah, at this point, you need to start doing something proactive, and I think that's what's happening here. Reid is drawing and then just plussing Liliana. He's gonna half Armageddon Chris, I think. He may even tick Liliana up above her ultimate just to keep her around, if he's got the time, which it appears he does.
Yeah, it looks like he's just got all the time in the world. Double Curse does that. He doesn't have to worry about any shenanigans at all.
He's got 3 curses total in the deck, and I presume he brought in the third one. There's a Purge, and the Purge is targeting Liliana. And Reid's fine with that, so. Now Chris can still play Snapcaster Purge. Snapcaster just doesn't stick around. Am I right? The Snapcaster still hits the board and triggers.
Oh yeah.
So he can still Snapcaster Purge. Yeah.
State-based effect.
He may even So Liliana being gone, Sun Titan comes into play fairly safe and brings back Snapcaster. Snapcaster now flashing back a Ponder before or after, go into the graveyard, gives Ponder flashback, goes to the graveyard, Ponder goes and attempts to be flashback. Reid attempts to cast Blue Sun Zenith, which hits a negate. So Chris is crawling back into this game. Or should I say clawing back into this game? Yeah.
Reid has a chance to lose now. It does still seems unlikely to me, even with the Sun Titan.
Alright, so Ponder happens, and then we have a Revoke Existence. Is that what that was?
Yep.
So you said one curse. One of the curses, yeah. So.
Ooh, a Sorin from Reid. Sorin's a pretty sweet card.
I was like, what did Sorin do? How do you get rid of the Sun Titan? Sorin doesn't do that. Oh, go for the throw. So Reid fighting with the Black Planeswalkers. Sorin Markov. Yeah, when we say Sorin, we mean Big Sorin. All right, so Snapcaster comes down, immediately goes away, flashing back Purge, presumably, or is it Revoke Existence? Okay, Revoke Existence on the other Curse. So Reid is now curseless. Does have Sorin right now, but there is still a Celestial Purge in Chris's graveyard, which Chris may be able to Snapcaster back. All right, so here's Liliana number 3, and Sorin again ticking up here.
If Sorin can get out of hand, it's it's a pretty
is
powerful
that-
spell. Sorin Markov.
Oh yeah. I
The
mean,
thing is, I imagine that card would have seen a lot more play had Grave Titan not been printed.
yeah, that makes sense to me. He saw some play, but he was usually like a one of, and even in this case, he's a one of, right?
I'd assume so. Yeah, he's a one of. Him and Karn, both one ofs. The blue-black deck, just changing one card really changes your deck by a whole lot because you have Think Twice and Forbidden Alchemy
Right.
and all these cards that are just,
So now that the curses are gone, Chris takes advantage and activates Moorland Haunt, gets a Spirit, resolves a Rune Chanter's Pike, and equips the Spirit. Spirit comes in at Liliana.
You're going to take her out.
And Liliana number 3 in the bin for Reid Duke. Ratchet Bomb there with the 3 counters. Kind of making things a little bit awkward for Reid. I mean, I guess if another Geist comes down, pretty safe from that.
Yeah, it's really important then.
But right now he needs to fight that Spirit, and that's exactly what he does. Sorin fights the Spirit. Spirit goes away. He's gonna basically, Reid looks like he's going to just use Sorin for as long as possible to keep the Moorland Haunt from getting out of hand, but Chris has 2 Moorland Haunts, and he's able to activate both of them because he's got 12 lands in play. So both guys at Sorin, I think. Sorin goes down to 2. What does Reid have in his hand? The control deck here with only 11 lands in play. The mid-range beatdown deck, 12 lands in play.
Now, one thing that I'm interested to see here is whether or not Reid has decided to sideboard in the Despises for this matchup when he's on the play. It doesn't look like he did, but
Yeah, we haven't seen anything yet.
I'd like to ask him afterward.
Moorland Haunt doing some work. And really making things tough for Reid at this point.
And this is one of the major problems of playing control deck in this format is, cards like Moorland Haunt, you can 1-for-1 all day with your opponent, but a card like Doomblade is going to lose in the long term.
Yeah.
If your opponent just gets an extra guy out of it every time, and they have like all this really powerful equipment put on.
And there goes Sorin. What is in Reid's hand? I think did he just play a land? So he's got 12 lands now.
Yeah.
Thought Scour from Chris. Delver, Vapor Snag, draw. Didn't quite see what he drew, but
For his sake, that's kind of a shame that
yeah.
flipped that way.
Yeah, although right now the Moorland Haunts are doing such a great job that, having another creature in the graveyard isn't the worst thing in the world. Kind of curious how big the how big that Rune Chanter's Pike is making that spirit.
It'd be interesting to see that.
Yeah.
Now, those
Jesse,
ponders
you
are
on that?
OT, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh,
Miscounted. It's at least 5.
okay. I think we're gonna get an official number from Jesse.
I think it's a swing for 9 here, so if Reid takes it, he'll go to 9.
And Ratchet Bomb number 2 from Reid. Mana Leak's not gonna help that one, but Dissipate will. Wow. And there it is. Reid Duke finally loses a match of Magic. Yeah, I mean,
He's
I don't
2-2
know.
now.
Yeah. So,
Both these players were 2-1 coming into this round.
oh, I didn't know that. Okay. I was presuming that that Reid and Chris both came in here undefeated into this match, and yeah, that was pretty rough. I mean, Reid had that game, but he couldn't capitalize. Like that's the problem. We need Jace the Mind Sculptor back.
That's exactly what we
That's
need.
it. We just need him
We
back.
just need Jace the Mind Sculptor.
I mean, Control decks can't compete without Jace the Mind Sculptor.
And I mean, you just can't close. Like, his deck
And,
doesn't have any win conditions, and it's unbelievable to me that he could have lost that game.
Right. It's ridiculous because not only did he have